rise to the court, please.
Sorry about that. Just did a Three Stooges move.
Okay, Mr. Perreault, do you know that Mrs. Demers had a appraisal of her property in 2013 from Coco and Early?
I did not know that.
Okay, did
Okay, Mr. Demers, I'm going to stop you.
okay.
Is this your intent to show that the value of the property was substantially less than the amount that Acadia expended to remediate the site?
Yes, $100,000 they estimated.
Established. Okay. I absolutely accept that they spent over twice the value of the house. Is there
Yeah.
any dispute on that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's all been established.
Okay, just
Okay.
because last month they had discussed about the value of the town assessing the property and the home itself.
Yeah.
When this proposal says that it's valued and couldn't, likely not to be sold, and they were provided this in discovery. If I may.
I might have shortcut you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It tells you on page 3, I believe, that, yes, in that first paragraph, I believe, I'm sorry, Your Honor. At the end of that,
Your Honor, may I approach?
Sure.
I'm not sure what document
this is the Coco and Early one that I sent you initially in 2016 for discovery. This is,
this is. And it hasn't been identified as.
no, I was asking him if he seen it, and at the end it says that the property, because of the stigma.
Well, it's
Okay,
not.
hang on. This is an expert opinion, and you can't introduce a real estate appraiser's view of something without having an expert witness here
Okay.
disclosing the basis for the opinion and their qualifications.
Okay, Your Honor, that's fine. Thank you. Mr. Perreault, during the cleanup, a brief question is, were you aware that they excavated the exterior excavation on 3 separate occasions within a 6-month period?
Objection to relevance
Um,
and to
My-
re-litigation and to raise judicata.
My,
I'm gonna allow it just in terms of the facts of what's done and not on the issue of whether it was done rightly or wrong, okay? So, 3 times excavation, are you aware of that?
I don't have any specific recollection.
if I showed you a picture that's on the website that shows the excavation in 3 different stages being excavated during a 6-month period, would that refresh your memory?
It may.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach? Mr. Perreault, this is a photo of the home, the back of the home on the first day of spill. Does that look like an accurate picture?
Yes, it
of the
does.
home on February 7th, I believe that picture was taken.
I don't think he saw the home on February 7th. I think it's been established that he only went to the home one time, 5th. Is that right?
Yeah, but these pictures were are on my website. They were supplied in the other case.
But he has to have personal knowledge of a picture in order to say that it looks like it did on the 5th.
Okay, Your Honor. Does this look like a, what does that look like to you, a picture of the breezeway excavation? Do you recall?
I don't recall seeing this, but
Okay, does that look like that?
from my recollection of your home, that is the breezeway right here.
Okay. And do these 2 photos look like a close-up of that excavation?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay, does this look like a photo of that area of the home? You can see the siding of the home. That was 6 months after the oil spill.
I have an objection. I'm uncertain whether the defendant is questioning the witness or attempting to refresh his recollection with respect to a question.
What are you trying to do, Mr. Demers?
I'm asking if you recollection, if he recalls that photo, a picture of that photo, or does that look like a representative of the exterior excavation?
Okay, I don't have, first you have to establish that he would have some personal knowledge of what it looked like at the time the excavation was done.
Okay.
In order for him to be able to look at a picture and say, this is what it would look like.
Does that look like the excavation on the outside of Mrs. Demers' house?
Objection to the foundation.
Why
Well,
don't we start with a question? Did you ever see the excavation that was done at the house?
Did you ever see photographs
No.
of
Did you
the
ever see the excavation?
the excavation on the exterior of Mrs. Demers' home?
I don't recall ever seeing the excavation.
Mr. Wigglesworth, your environmental manager, never provided you with photos?
Well, he did, but I never went to the home and observed an excavation along the side of it.
Do you know that there was an excavation done there on 3 occasions?
I don't know how many excavations were done, but I know there was excavation done.
You were the adjuster, claims adjuster at the time, and you had an environmental manager who would report it to you,
Correct?
and he would send you photographs and give you
Updates and reports.
a report. So, does this picture look like the same area of the home on July 12th?
The same area as what, on July 12th?
Sorry?
The same area as what?
On the side of Mrs. Demers' foundation where oil spilled.
What's your objection?
I don't have an objection. If the question, if I understand the question correctly, it is wherever Mr. Demers is directing the witness's attention on a particular picture in front of him that's not in evidence, the question is that area where the oil spill occurred?
On the exterior of the home,
Yeah.
the oil spill impacted the side of the home's foundation, and these pictures, I'm seeing if he recognizes them, or,
So you could, I'm sure he has an understanding of where the oil spill originally was, but he can't verify pictures if he wasn't there. So he
Okay.
can't say this looks like what it looked like on a particular day, because on that particular day he wasn't there. So if your aim is to get those pictures into evidence, he is not the person to do this with. It has to be done with somebody who actually saw that and can say
Okay.
this is a reasonable representation of what it was like on that particular day.
okay.
You certainly can ask him, based on his knowledge, does he have a knowledge of where the actual oil leak occurred? But you can't do that with pictures.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and I don't think there's any dispute about where the oil leak occurred. It was overfilled, right?
Correct.
So I'm assuming this occurred on the place where the nozzle goes in, right? Okay.
Have you ever seen a picture of the exterior area of the home that was impacted with oil?
Yes,
When did you see the first picture of the exterior of the home that was impacted?
I'm not certain.
Okay, did Mr. Wigglesworth report to you weekly or monthly, or?
He would report to me sometimes a couple times a day.
Yeah,
He would submit reports probably monthly,
okay.
and that would include pictures.
Okay, is it fair to say that he may have sent you a picture of this, of an excavation on February 12th, 2007?
It's entirely possible that he did.
Okay, and if he re-excavated an area, do you think he would have sent you another updated photo?
He may have.
Okay, and if he re-excavated an area again for the third time, would he send you a photograph?
I would expect that he would.
Okay. Do you excuse me a minute. Okay, I'm gonna go back over here. Thank you. Mr. Perreault, isn't it true that there were 3 excavations done at different time periods on the exterior of Mrs. Demers' home?
As I stated previously, there were excavations done, but I don't recall how many were done and exactly where they were done.
Okay, would it be fair to say there were 3?
So that's been asked and answered now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Perreault, did Empro or Ambrose after that last, in August of 2007, did you have any communications with Empro or Ampros where they said that they would deduct money from the bill from Acadia because they had excavated the same area for the third time?
No.
Acadia never took, Empro or Ambrose never deducted money or had a communication to that effect where there was an issue in an email?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? If the defendant told you he's seen a document,
Nope.
oh, okay. You don't recall? Did Empro or Ambrose ever communicate with you that they were going to deduct any money off the environmental bill, either company, in August or September of 2007?
Objection, asked and answered.
Not to my recollection.
Oh, okay, all right, you can move on there.
Spinning.
Thank you. Mr. Perreault, has any media during the cleanup contacted you for
No.
comment on any of the news articles during the 14-month cleanup?
No.
Eagle Tribune, no, okay. Were you ever contacted by the Valley Patriot to comment on a recent news article?
So the answer was no media has contacted
Oh,
them,
okay, I'm
so
sorry, Your Honor.
that would include that newspaper.
Have you read any articles related to this case?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Are those articles, in your opinion, defamatory?
Same thing I'm gonna tell you as before, is that's my ultimate determination. His opinion about a legal factual issue that I have to decide is not granted.
Oh, okay, Your Honor, I'm sorry. Have you watched any of the videos of this trial published by the Valley Patriot or a member of the press that's related to the Valley Patriot? Have you watched the
A video of this trial?
Yes.
I did see a portion of it, a very brief portion of it.
Okay. Have you watched any of the interviews Mr. Demers had with the Valley Patriot in recent months?
No.
Okay. Did you know that the Valley Patriot published your portrait in one or two articles related to this case?
No, I did not know that.
You did not know that? If they did in fact publish your picture, would you object to the newspaper publishing your picture?
It's not relevant.
Okay.
Well, go ahead and answer that question.
I guess they've already published it, so an objection would be sort of a moot point.
Okay, so you wouldn't have a problem with the press taking your picture?
Well, that's not the same question. I would prefer if they not.
But you can't stop the press from taking your photograph in a public place, correct?
Objecting to the question, it's not relevant and it's approaching argumentative harassment.
I think it's getting into the nuances of what the First Amendment would allow, and that's beyond what this witness needs to answer.
Okay, Your Honor. Did you read the 2011 negligent news article that was published in the Eagle Tribune?
Objection.
After the court case?
It's unclear what article.
Would you show it?
May I approach this? I have in my hand, Your Honor, exhibit marked as ID O, I believe, the Demers news articles. May I approach? page 26. The fuel company found not liable.
May I read it?
Could Mr. Demers identify what page of?
26, I believe. Is it 26?
Yes, it is. I did read this
Okay. Did you read it online or in newsprint?
online.
Okay. Can I see that for a second?
Of course.
Did you notice the comments on this story that was published on October 13, 2011? Bear with me for a moment.
So October 13, 2009, is that what you said?
This was October 13, 2011, after the trial.
Oh, okay, that's what I didn't hear, thank you.
Okay, well, as you can see, there's a lot of comments on this, and I just want to direct you to one comment that Mr. Demers posted. Okay, I'm on page 35, and can you read from maybe
To itself,
Shame on you.
or in the record?
in the record, may I?
Just to, for the sake of moving things along, we left any objection we had to an IDO and would agree that it could come in as a full exhibit.
And so do I need to have the witness read it then, if I read it myself?
If it's up to you, it doesn't.
I'll certainly read every exhibit that's introduced into it.
You are, okay. I just wanted to, just a brief one on this one particular article where,
So that Exhibit O will come in as a full exhibit, Joe?
it's, just, you can start off with this and read to the end. It's in.
Okay. You want me to read it out loud?
If you could.
Okay, my mom is a victim of this tragedy, and the companies involved will have to look in the mirror every day knowing they screw over my mom. They may have won that battle in court, but the war is not over. I will set up a website so that our supporters will be able to view and look at the documented evidence, video of the cleanup in this case, and judge for themselves what an injustice has occurred here. Please look for it. It will be set up early next week. On behalf of my mom and the Demers family, we would like to thank, from the bottom of our hearts, our attorney, who received no compensation and put his heart and soul, fighting for us, all the readers and supporters and friends that have followed the story and stood by us for nearly 5 years. God bless you, Michael Demers.
Thank you. That's enough, Mr. Perreault. Thank you very much.
Who represented you, Mr. Demers? Okay, thank you.
He's just by himself. Okay, Mr. Perreault. It's fair to say there were dozens of comments on this article.
I didn't see the comments.
Oh, may I approach one quick time, please?
Yep.
Okay, the article started page 20, the comments on the article started page 27, they run through 39. They run through 27 through 45. I don't want you to read them all, I just wanted you to take a quick look and if you've seen that online when it was posted.
I can say that I didn't see any of the comments online.
Okay. Okay, but it's fair to say that there are quite a few.
Yeah, there appear to be a lot of them.
Okay. And I don't want you to read them all, but is it fair to say that a lot were positive, comments toward like the Demerses or toward Hafner's?
I would have to read them to know.
Okay, all right. That's fine, I want to move this along, I just wanted to point out that. Thank you, sir. Is it fair to say, Mr. Perreault, that the oil spill cleanup in the aftermath was a public concern issue?
Objection, calls for legal conclusion.
Sustained.
Okay. Do you personally believe that it is newsworthy, or?
Objection, irrelevant. I don't think Mr. Perreault's personal belief about the First Amendment is relevant.
What do you say to that, Mr. Demers?
I just think he could give his own opinion. I would think that if he's seen that this was covered and chronicled over the time it was being cleaned up, the property, that his personally could come to an opinion that, well, yeah, there are a lot of news stories chronicled of this.
Sustained.
Okay. Do you believe Mr. Demers has the right to tell the story of what happened to her home in the court case? Do you believe you have a right to publish a story about that?
Objection, calls for legal conclusion.
Why should I hear his opinion about it? Why should I have his opinion on that?
I just believe that he would be able to give an opinion if he thought I should be entitled to write about what happened.
He's a party to the case, I'll allow it.
Just to add to my objection, Mr. Perreault is a lay witness. He is not someone who has any expertise.
And I'm not going to accept it as a legal conclusion or a legal opinion as to whether or not the person would allow it or whether it's,
Okay.
you may answer.
Could you please repeat the question?
Do you think that Mr. Demers has a right to tell the story of what happened concerning the oil spill, the lawsuit, the struggle after trying to get into the home, and even this case? Do you think that he has the right himself to write about it?
From my perspective, in my opinion, I'd say no.
Well, why would you say no?
Because I think a lot of facts have been misrepresented.
Okay. All right. And that's your opinion?
That's my opinion.
Okay. Do you think that Mr. Demers has a right to disagree with what happened at the Demers property during the cleanup?
Of course.
I have the right to disagree. Do you believe I can talk about this court case in the future?
And to whom and for what purpose?
To publish my opinion or publish a chronicle of what's happening in court?
For profit?
No, to publish as a documentary.
No, I'm gonna not allow allow him to answer that
Okay.
question. That's really up to me to decide.
Okay. Have you ever been displaced from your home, Mr. Perreault?
No.
Mr. Perreault, if what happened to Mrs. Demers' home happened to your home or your mother's home, how would you feel?
Objection, Mr. Stills feels not relevant.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Okay, if this happened to your home, would you want the contamination thoroughly removed?
Objection.
Sustain.
Okay. Was Empro paid almost the value of the Demers residents at the time for their remediation services?
Well, I think we paid them $275,000. My recollection is correct.
I believe you testified last month that they were paid
Oh, pardon me, 300,
$320,000.
maybe even more than that.
Yeah.
And I expect that it's probably more than the value of your home, but I'm not an appraiser. I don't know
Okay.
what the home is worth.
Is that uncommon when you're adjusting an oil spill that you'll pay more than the value of the home?
It depends on the value of the home and the severity of the spill.
Okay. Mr. Perreault, would it be fair to say that Empro initially provided false samples to the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services in February of 2007?
Objection, relevance.
Did you say false samples?
False confirmatory soil
You have
samples.
to let me roll, but Mr. Perreault, it's overruled.
Okay.
Let me answer. No.
I'm sorry?
My answer is no.
Know that they didn't give false samples to the state of New Hampshire?
No, that I'm not aware of it.
Okay, if I showed you evidence of that, would it okay.
There's no knowledge of it.
Do you have any issue with Mr. Demers' cleanup videos on his website? I have 16 hours of video that recollected the entire cleanup, and I published them in 2012.
Let me have counsel.
The objection is that it's unclear what videos Mr. Defers refers to. It's unclear that the witness has seen those videos.
So that's a foundation objection. So why don't you first establish whether or not Mr. Perreault has seen any videos that you published about the cleanup?
Okay. Mr. Perreault, have you ever seen any of the cleanup videos that were documented during the oil spill at Mrs. Demers' home?
No.
Mr. Perreault, isn't it true that Mr. Demers provided 16 hours of video at the 2011 in discovery during the 2011 negligent trial to your attorneys, Wiggins and Norrie?
I don't recall.
Okay, if he said that he didn't, no, okay. Okay, you don't recall, and you have not watched any of these cleanup videos?
Objection, it's unclear.
Um,
Cleanup videos.
the-
Mr.
the-
Defers refers to.
There are cleanup videos on my website?
Go ahead, it's overruled. I mean, I think he's already said he hasn't seen any videos of the
Okay.
cleanup, so I think it's been asked and answered.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Mr. Perreault, why did you stop paying for you or Acadia stopped paying for the hotel bills during the first, after the March 7th? Why did you or Acadia discontinue paying the hotel bills?
We discontinued paying the hotel bills because Tom Wigglesworth was giving us information that you were interfering with the cleanup process.
At what time, the spill occurred on February 6, 2007, and after March 7th, 2007, a month period, can you explain how Mr. Demers interfered with the cleanup, as you stated?
Well, as I testified earlier, there were times you wouldn't show up, and you had the key to the home. So when you weren't there, they couldn't go in and clean. When people were there, you were taking photographs of them, taking video, and more or less getting in the way. There were personal items that were left in the home that needed to be moved in order for the home to be cleaned, that you did not do.
Mr. Perreault, what was Mr. Demers supposed to do with personal items involved in an oil spill cleanup? What are you referring to, personal items I was supposed to remove? We were in a hotel, Mr. Perreault, and your cleanup contractor was managing the property in the cleanup. Do you think it's the Demers' responsibility to remove furniture or stuff from the home, other than the clothes off the back that we took to the hotel?
They had to have these articles removed in order to clean the home. They didn't feel comfortable removing of personal items.
Mr. Perreault, we took the clothes off our back and some stuff from drawers and went to a hotel, and your manager was in charge of the cleanup, who would report to you, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so how did Mr. Demers in that 1 month period interfere with them? Because he took pictures, you're saying?
Objection has been answered.
Okay.
Overruled. You may answer.
Repeat the question, please.
How did I interfere? By taking pictures of the family home while this was going on, this tragedy was going on?
Not the family home, of the people who were working in the home, in the house.
I certainly was. Did you know that Mr. Demers took the keys away from the environmental contractors in May when they re-excavated another excavation that they declared clean? The Emperor in the first month had the whole run of the home.
I wasn't aware of that.
Okay. If I told you that, would you find it believable?
No.
Okay. So I don't see how I interfered. I took pictures, and what else did I do to interfere with the cleanup at the home?
Like I said, you wouldn't show up and unlock the house for the cleaners,
During the,
and personal property that was supposed to be moved so they could clean the place properly was not moved. And they had contacted you about that, and basically you were just protracting out your stay in the hotel.
I'm sorry? I didn't hear that last.
You were protracting your stay in the hotel.
Meaning protracting, I'm sorry.
You were just lengthening the process.
You think the Demerses were lengthening the process in the hotel? That's your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And you think that we have responsibility to remove furniture from the home so it didn't get damaged by the oil fumes in the home?
I wasn't told it was furniture that had to be moved, personal items, just stuff you had around in the house.
Like, for instance?
I suppose, for lack of a better word, clutter.
Clutter. Clutter interfered with Empro and Ambrose cleaning up the property.
Yes or no?
Yes, in part.
Okay. Okay. Are there any documents from Acadia or yourself to Mrs. Demers stating that Acadia was gonna clean the property to a state standard level?
You mean a letter?
Yeah, documents.
Not that no, I don't think so.
Okay. You know what state standard means, right? State standard cleanup means?
State standard.
Do you know what that means? The level of cleanup, a state standard level of cleanup, do you know what that is?
I believe so.
What would the state standard level?
Well,
cleanup be?
the state would test the property, and if certain, I don't know, if certain tests were beyond standards, then the property wasn't clean.
Okay, all right. Do you know what a state standard level cleanup is designed for? Like why does the state clean to that level?
Objection, res judicata, and irrelevance.
That's res judicata.
Res judicata means that this has been litigated and determined matters of.
So the question is just his knowledge of why the state would set standards. So you may answer that.
For the well-being of its citizens.
I'm sorry?
For the well-being and safety of its citizens.
Okay, but isn't it true that a state standard remediation under state standards, New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, that a state standard level is a minimum level that, say for instance, you had an oil tank or a spill at your home, and you accidentally spilled it, and you had no insurance, the state would come in and clean your property under Superfund and clean it to that state standard level.
You know, I'm gonna stop you. I don't know where you're going with this, but that's a pretty sophisticated question for a witness to answer.
Okay, Your Honor.
Well, if you're weak, I'm not sure I can answer it.
Oh, okay, Your Honor. If I showed you a portion of tape where the state of New Hampshire at Mr. Demers's home discusses the covered loss issue and a state standard issue with our public adjusters, would you believe that a state standard level is made for somebody with no insurance?
Objection, calls for expert opinion, and lacks a foundation, hearsay.
What's the relevance of this, Mr. Demers?
Okay, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Wasn't this all raised at the trial about whether or not they met state standards?
Okay, Your Honor, you're right, you're right. Mr. Perreault, do you recall when the basement tiles that were impacted with oil were removed in the basement?
When they were removed,
Yes.
I'm not certain. I have an idea. It might have been in March of 2007.
No, I'm talking about the main floor area, not the first excavation in the southwest corner. I'm talking about the main floor of the basement that was covered with oil, the tiles. Do you recall?
I don't recall when it was removed.
Would it be fair to say that they were removed in December of 2007, about 10 months later?
I don't recall when they were removed.
Okay. Did the defendant request that you remove those basement tiles and give you an estimate on or about February 28th, 2007? Did he send you an estimate to remove tiles, or with an estimate for a tile removal?
I recollect that, yes.
Okay, and why didn't you accept that, or Acadia accept that estimate to remove tiles that were known to be impacted with oil?
I don't recall why we didn't agree to pay that.
Okay. Do you feel that if the tiles in question were impacted with oil, do you believe they should be removed? You didn't, or you did?
Objection. The witness's belief about whether tiles should have been removed is irrelevant, and the matter of Acadia fulfilling its duties to the defendant has been determined by a jury.
All right, I'm gonna allow him to answer that.
Can you repeat the question?
Do you believe that oil impacted tiles in the main floor area of Mrs. Demers' basement that were impacted should have been removed immediately?
If the tiles were destroyed or no longer able to be put to their intended use, they should be removed.
Okay, but if they were oil impacted and the oil got into the grout and into the crevices of the, would you think if they were damaged by oil, they should be removed?
I cannot answer that question.
Okay. Do you know why the cleanup took so long? Other than you said that Mr. Demers wouldn't show up?
My understanding of it is that your interference with the cleanup protracted the length of time it took and the cost of, and increased the cost of the cleanup.
Okay. Do you recall that AQM came in 5 times an expert during the cleanup, reevaluated your contractor's work, and found that each time more work needed to be done?
Objection asked and answered.
I'll let him answer that.
I don't recall the number of times that contractor came in.
Your Honor, may I approach with the AQM quote 1 moment?
The bottom line, whether AQM did tests at this
Okay.
property and more work had to be done as a result of that. Is that what you're trying to establish?
Yeah, 'cause-
Is that true?
Could you repeat that?
Yes. Did AQM come to this site, do some air tests, and thereafter more work was determined that needed to be done?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, was that 5 times that AQM came?
He does not
Oh,
have a
okay.
recollection of
All
the
right.
How
number
many
of
times they
times.
came?
Okay, Mr. Perreault, you recognize this photo I have in my hand?
Can you come a little bit closer, please? I see it. Yeah, I believe I've seen it.
Do you recall when you seen it first, the donkey?
No.
Okay. Would you think that that is a cartoon or a fictitious photo?
I object. Mr. Perreault, you're putting it on the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Would you consider that to be?
Wait, what's your objection?
My objection is it's not in evidence.
I was recollecting that if he's seen it, and I just.
Okay. So the answer is yes, he's seen it,
Okay.
and I'm not gonna look at it because it's not a piece of evidence, but, okay, so, and what's your next question?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Mr. Perreault, September 15, 2015, did you have your attorneys send a complaint or a letter to my website, HostGator? Did you have them send a letter on your behalf?
I don't recall.
Okay, you're on a may approach
Approach the witness?
yes, for a recollection of this letter that the attorney sent?
Please just show me the document.
Oh, I'm sorry.
before you show
These are
me.
the 4 letters that Attorney Minister sent to my social media.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now I know what they are.
Okay. Mr. Perreault, this is a letter dated September 15, 2015.
You can show it to him, but you can't read it into evidence.
Okay.
Yes, we'll call this letter.
Okay, why do you recall why that letter was sent?
On advice of counsel.
Okay. Okay, and what did they advise, what did they, okay.
Objection.
Oh, you gonna withdraw it? That's your next question?
Yeah, the letter talks about the court case in 2011 and suggests that HostGator shut down my website.
Objection, none of these documents are in evidence, nor were they disclosed on the defendant's list of exhibits, so we object to their introduction at this time, if that's the road he intends to go down.
Your Honor, I was sent these documents. One is to my hosting company, one's to Facebook, one's to Twitter, one's to YouTube. They sent me these documents, and in these documents, they requested that they shut my social media and website down.
So when did you receive those documents?
I received them from counsel during the discovery period, I believe.
And why weren't they put on your exhibit list and produced in accordance with my order to exchange exhibits?
Only because I was buried in paperwork. I'm not a lawyer, Your Honor. If I had the time, I would have been a little more thorough, but being a layman person, I just, it was overwhelming to me to put everything together. And I just thought that if...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I just thought that this is important here because none of them shut me down. And they requested these documents to my website owner and all the social media that I have, that Mr. Demers is a bully, he's doing this and that, and we lost the case, this is the substance of it, and we believe you should shut him down because of it. And as a result, nobody shut Mr. Demers' social media down.
Okay, I'm gonna not allow them for 2 reasons.
Okay.
The first is that they weren't disclosed. You need to list every exhibit that you're gonna use on your exhibit list, and you
Okay.
need to give it to counsel so that they're prepared to know what you're gonna introduce.
Okay,
And I had an order in this case that you both exchange exhibits,
okay,
mark them, and that those documents were not ones that were produced. And
Okay.
secondly, I don't think it's relevant at all as to what social media sites, the rules are completely different, and I would not consider that as evidence.
okay, Your Honor, that's fine. May I ask you, the witness, if they sent them to each company they sent them to? These, no, okay. You want, I have in my hand, exhibit marked as, Defendant's Exhibit A. what, I don't recall.
Yes, it has. Yes.
Oh, it has?
Okay.
Okay, may I, Coach?
You may.
Perreault, this is a screenshot of the Acadia, on my website. I want to take a picture. Does that look like an accurate document section that found on my website to you? Does that look like the website?
I've seen those on your website.
Okay, okay, can you read the first two paragraphs right at on the cover page there for me, please?
Sure. More documents and details regarding this oil spill cleanup disaster coming soon. Please be patient during this process. A complete journal was kept by Mom's son, Michael Demers, detailing conversations and events as they occurred.
Okay. Yes.
Sure.
Who's that on the second page?
Looks like Santa Claus.
Okay. And what is that depicted there on the bottom?
Can you let us know which page you're referring to?
I'm sorry, on page 3 of the document
Thank you.
section.
It appears to be a bus with people from Berkeley and with Hafner's the donkey.
What's the donkey doing?
He has a hose and it looks like he's spraying oil on the bus.
Okay. Who's depicted in that picture?
John Wayne.
I may, not so much in the way of an objection, but I don't know that, that Mr. Perreault is the witness to describe the content that Mr. Demers himself put on his website, which is in evidence. If it's his intention to have the witness describe various pages printed out here, I think we may be here for quite some time and won't be able to conclude the trial today.
I don't have that many things that I'm gonna.
Mr. Demers, I do think that they're all in evidence. A lot of them have been discussed, if not all of them. I'm going to look at
God.
very, very important.
Okay, janitor.
I think I'm probably as able to look at them and come to a conclusion about them.
Okay,
as
Your Honor,
the witness.
sorry. Okay, Mr. Courtt, one more quick moment and I should be wrapping up here. Your Honor, that's Mr. Perreault. Mr. Demers published a photograph of you on his website in that Acadia section where you see, where I just showed you.
Okay.
Okay. And do you believe that Mr. Demers does not have the right to publish that picture?
I hate to ask, but may I see it again?
Yeah, not a problem. If I can find it.
Demers, I think the exhibit is right here that you showed him before, right on the top.
Oh, thank you.
Any question?
I'm sorry. Do you think that the defendant has the right to publish that picture that he took in a public place in front of his mother's home? During the cleanup, or after the cleanup, I should say?
Before you answer that, let me hear counsel's objection.
Interject an objection to the extent that Mr. Demers is asking the witness for a legal conclusion about Mr. Demers' rights. It's objectionable.
Sustained.
Okay. Mr. Perreault, how many times have you visited the defendant's website since you learned of the website being created?
A handful of times, maybe.
Okay, is that recently, or do you know what year you first went
It's
to Mr. Demers' website?
spread out. From the time I first learned of it to the present, maybe 5 times.
Okay. Did you go to Mr. Demers' Facebook page? Do you recall how many times you've been to that page yourself before this?
Mr. Demers' Facebook page?
Yeah, I'm not Mr. Demers, I'm sorry, Hafner's Oil Spill Facebook page.
I don't recall ever going on Hafner's.
Okay, Campaign for Mom's Home.
Yes, I've been on that. I visited
Facebook.
that website.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the Facebook page I'm talking about. I have 2 Facebook pages, one is,
No, ask him a question.
oh, okay. Campaign for Mom's Home Facebook page, have you ever visited that page? Facebook.
I don't know if it was on Facebook or not. I knew the name of the site,
Oh,
typed it in Google, and it came up, and I perused the site.
oh, okay. Have you ever, how many times have you gone to Mr. Demers' Twitter, America for Mom?
On Twitter, I don't think I've ever gone on it.
You never went on Twitter? Okay. Would it be fair to say that Mr. Demers portrayed you in cartoonish artwork?
No, I think it would be more accurate to say it portrayed me as an ass
And
and incompetent, and somehow I was responsible for your present situation.
you understand that cartoon is not real? Is,
Objection, argumentative, calling for, appears to be calling for a legal conclusion.
I don't know if he's asking for a legal conclusion, but why don't you rephrase it so that you're on the same page in terms of what you're asking.
oh, okay, Your Honor. Would you consider Mr. Demers' portrayals as cartoonish?
What do you mean by cartoon?
Meaning that they're not real, it's like a imaginative type of artwork or creation?
Yeah, they're caricatures.
Yeah. Okay. And they're not real.
Well, cartoons aren't real.
Okay. And a caricature is a cartoon in a sense?
Well, yes, well, I guess so.
Okay,
They're drawings or images.
all right. Do you know how many of the cartoonish, what the defendant describes as artwork, how many you are in? I mean, how many times has he made a creative work, say, or a cartoonish work? How many times are you recall are included in?
I know I'm included in a number of them. I don't know exactly how many.
Would it be fair to say 12, maybe 13, where the fictitious donkey and you are in a creation of Mrs. Demers's? Would it be fair to say 12 or 13, maybe?
I've never counted them. That sounds about right.
Okay. And Acadia has been boycotted by Mr. Demers, and Mr. Demers has made, some might call a meme online, or a sort of a fictitious, like a boycott. Have you seen it, those related to Acadia boycott?
Objection compound.
Break your question down.
Okay, have you seen Mr. Demers's boycott, what he might call a meme or a creative work, like boycott Acadia Insurance Company? Have you seen any with like the Riddler on there, or have you seen those?
Yes.
Okay, and it's fair to say he has pretty much a lot more memes about Acadia than yourself, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I think I'm gonna call it a day on, and I'm all through with this witness.
All right, we're gonna take the break, an afternoon break. We're gonna come back in 15 minutes. What's the length of your re-examination?
We have no re-examination.
All right, and so beyond, go ahead, ma'am, excuse me, Mr. Perreault, go ahead, Mr.
Thank you.
What is your intention, ma'am? To testify? You've had a lengthy examination. What is
Yeah.
it that more you want me to see?
Being a non-lawyer, Your Honor, I'm a little bit unfamiliar. Everything that was, like, for instance, last month, they showed a portion of a video in question, and I don't know if you're gonna watch that whole video, or I have to present that whole video to you to watch.
This we've had a conversation about over and over. What I'm gonna look at is what has been introduced into evidence.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There's a video that has been introduced, and I've seen part of it.
Okay.
But the remainder of the video is part of the disc,
Yes.
then I'll look at it.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm confused with it. I'm not accustomed to this.
I'm not gonna go and look on your internet site. I'm not gonna do any sort
Yeah.
of outside
Yeah.
research. And I just, again, because I may independently go somewhere, you guys won't even know what I've looked at.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to either side, because it doesn't give the other side an opportunity to respond to it. So the only thing I can look at is what's been introduced into evidence during the court process.
Okay, I understand, Your Honor. I'd probably just briefly like to just run through the pages of my website with you.
You can't, well, how are you gonna do that?
I'm just gonna show, like, as an example, that when people come to the website, they see, which I've talked about, they see that we lost the case. And I was just gonna run through to just describe that this is what's on here, and then go through this section real quick. This is what's on here, this is what's on here.
How are you gonna do that so everybody can see it at the same time?
I could possibly turn my computer to this side right here.
To which side?
I can turn it over here like that.
I'll be able to see it there?
Yeah, and I'm just gonna breeze through it just to show that it's not all about one individual or one company. It's about a lot of things.
What I think I will do is I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna sit next to the screen if you're gonna do it. You two are also welcome to do that, or parties. and then we'll be able to see it, and then you can show us from your.
Yeah, I'm not gonna run through every little thing, I'm sorry.
Before you do that, I want you to give council a good idea of what you're gonna show me, okay?
Okay.
Great. All right.
And we come back and are we going anywhere, or is that, usually?
No, I'm just gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break, so everyone monitor me. Rest your fingers.
Oh, okay.
All rise, please.
And I can rest my finger.
How long are you guys taking a break?
15 minutes.
Okay. I may have to go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom or get
Okay.